Hello, my name is Lumiel, and this is the Bloodborne lore through, where we play through Bloodborne and discuss the lore. As you can see, I'm in the Lumenwood Garden, where I've just defeated the living failures, and find myself at this door to the Astral Clocktower. And inside, we will find Lady Maria that we've heard about. Now, she won't immediately be aggressive, but we will, once she's aggressive, she's a difficult fight. So I wanted to mention, I do not have any special gear on. She uses blood-based attacks, but she doesn't use, for example, arcane or fire or poison or anything you can especially guard about. So just wear good gear. And on top of that, I forgot to put on any special runes for this fight. So make sure you do that before you fight her, because like I said, she is tough. That being said, I do have on a rune that explains why my head looks this way. This is the milkweed rune. It says host phantasms as a lumenwood. So it's a carol rune envisioned by Saint Adeline, patient of the research hall. A transcription of the inhuman sticky whispers that reveal the nature of a celestial attendant. Those who take this oath become a lumenwood that peers towards the sky, feeding phantasms in its luscious bed. Phantasms guide us and lead us to further discoveries. So it actually increases the amount of items you would find, or your chance of finding them, basically of enemies dropping them, and makes your head look like this. So let's head in. This sword is, of course, the same sword we've been using. We also have, so it's the Holy Moonlight Sword, but we also have Ludwig's Holy Blade equipped. Again, if she's especially arcane resistant, which I don't think she would be, we will switch. Let me go ahead and throw on, let's say, fire paper, just in case we need it. So, this is Lady Maria of the Astral Clocktower, and you can see she's got a pool of blood under her, and it flows away, and looking at this, she seems clearly dead. Blood all over her clothing, her hand down, and dripping, as if she's either been shot somewhere up here, or cut her wrist, or something, but we can tell she's bleeding, or covered in blood and still dripping anyways. She's got a cup, and it almost looks like a smashed picture next to her. And she sits in front of the Astral Clocktower, which was used to understand the sky, or to study the sky. So let's talk to her, but actually before we do, she has blonde, nearly white hair, and should look somewhat familiar, and pay attention to the voice as well.
A corpse should be left well alone.
You're meant to think she's talking about herself. And look at the almost kindness as she releases your hand.
Very well. How the secrets beckon so sweetly. Only an honest death will kill you now. Liberate you from your wild curiosity.
It's the same voice actress as the doll. In fact, she appears to be what the doll was based on, and that would lead you to believe whoever made the doll was perhaps a little obsessed with her. So, the belief is that Garamond made the doll, and we know that the gravestone in the hunter's dream that stands apart was the student of Garamond. And so, supposedly, that could be her. Or possibly that could be her. So, back away. And now she gets more aggressive as we see, you know, her second phase where she's done an attack that seems very much like kind of like a Canehurst attack. And the blade appears to be like the Rikuyo, I think, that uses blood magic. Ah, you can. And so, remember, I am overpowered. She is much more harmful than that, and much more difficult to beat than that, usually. So, but I wanted to show she is not easy to parry, but she can very much be parried. In that second round, though, you gotta give her a little more space, at least in my experience. Somebody will probably have a technique that they'll tell you works every time, where you lock on and always dodge to the left or something. I've never been able to, other than, you know, being severely overleveled, I've never been able to just say, oh, this is how you do it. So, but yeah, just get familiar with the timing of her attacks and use the parry mechanic. And I am going to pick up this item. We'll take a look, and then we'll open the next area. And so we have the Celestial Dial, and that is a key item. So right here, it's a Celestial Dial that functions with the giant astral clock in the Grand Cathedral. When the dial is held up toward the astral clock, the clock will come to life and reveal a secret to its curious interloper. So this is used to interact with the astral clock, and when it's held up before the clock will move and reveal a secret, which she talked about leaving secrets alone. The Harrower told us that she was guarding. Simon the Harrowed told us she was guarding a secret, and it appears that yes, she was. We can actually just interact with it now, and you, like I said, you use it like a key. So that bottom area is open like a door, but and if we go through there, we will enter an area called the Fishing Hamlet. So if that's all you cared to see, thanks for tuning in. But if you want, I want to talk a little bit more about her and the doll and about Garamond. Let's see, the doll's clothing. It says a discarded doll, likely a spare for dress up. A deep love for the doll can be surmised by the fine craftsmanship of this article and the care with which it was kept. And it seems, it very much focuses on the person who built the doll, made the doll, and dressed up the doll. I think it's mostly the same. It borderlines on mania and exudes a slight warmth. So it's focusing on who made the doll and almost a manic nature to them. But the other item we want to pay attention to is, if you remember, on the grave that stands alone, the one that brings us to this area, we found an old hunter bone. And so that makes us believe that perhaps this bone belonged to the person in the grave. And then there's another detail I want to. So the bone of a hunter whose name is lost, meaning people know of them but don't know who they were. It is said that he was an apprentice to old Gehrman and a practitioner of the art of quickening, a technique particular to the hunters. So if you remember the art of quickening, well, we'll just do it, and it may look familiar to something you just saw. This is how Lady Maria dodged. She would disappear when dodging. That's quickening. And so that's something to keep in mind when trying to determine was that Maria's grave. But it is said that he was an apprentice to Gehrman and a practitioner of the art of quickening, a technique particular to the first hunters. It is most appropriate that hunters, carriers of the torch who are sustained by the dream, would tease an old art from his remains. So it refers to he and his, but I believe that this is used to just elaborate on the fact that the bone belonged to a hunter whose name was lost. So people know of this hunter, but they don't remember who it was. And so I think besides the fact that you find the bone on this grave, the grave takes you to this place. The bone grants access to quickening, which is the same technique used by Lady Maria. And the Lady Maria looks like the doll. That was an inadvertent cough, but it looks like the doll which seems to have been at least left laying around by Gehrman, and even has the same voice actress as the doll. Essentially, it implies that the doll was crafted to look like Maria. Maria was Gehrman's first apprentice, and at some point decided to part ways, and I believe he so missed her that he crafted the doll, or perhaps it was more insidious. Perhaps he felt a way about her that she wasn't receptive of, and he made a doll of her, which is very nasty. But either way, I think out of his warped sense of love for his apprentice, he made this doll. And yeah, and I think this confirms that the grave is Lady Maria's. And like I said, right through here, I don't think we can get back through, but is the fishing hamlet. So that's actually where we will continue in the next episode. And another chance where if you're good, you can drop off here, but if not, I actually am going to warp and check on an area. Basically, above the corpse pile, there was... You know what? Nope, we'll get items to help with that later. There were locked doors, remember, in the hallway after the corpse pile. But we will come back to that later. And in the meantime, the next episode, we'll head into the fishing hamlet and find out at least hints as to what the secret was that Lady Maria was guarding, but keep in mind the phrase that she said, a corpse should be left well enough alone. And keep in mind that I implied, and will outright say now, she wasn't referring to herself. So, let's check out the next episode, or if you're interested, check out the next episode, and thank you for joining today. So, thanks.